I think we are live. And this time I'm hardwired, so I'm not on my Wi-Fi. So fingers crossed we don't have the same issue as last time. I think you're still muted, so let's do some little bit of intros, and then we'll
Sure.
kick off this month's topic.
Yeah. I put it on mute because I had a little sneezing fit while we were off the screen, and so I wanted to make sure I wasn't sneezing on the screen. Then of course I forgot to take the mute back off. So, yeah. Hi, I'm Diana Larsen, and I'm co-author of the book Lead Without Blame, along with my friend here.
And
if you're here on LinkedIn, you can find me easily, so you probably know something about me. So I hope you're having a great day. My day started well here. How about you, Tricia?
It started well. In fact, actually, I didn't even think about this. We didn't mention, I'm surprising you right off the bat with this, but I actually wanted to say, Diane and I met yesterday. We've been talking and stuff, and we've been going live with these once a month for the book Lead Without Blame, but we've been able to get some information and things, and we've been seeing the reviews and things. And I just thought maybe we should take a second just to say thank you. Like the comments, the feedback, the posts, the sales, the reaction that, I mean, I feel really grateful personally.
Yes. Oh yeah. So thankful for the support that we've been getting from our community and beyond our community has been, really gratifying. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, David. David's joining in and saying he's coming in from Texas. But it was so cool to this is my first time, right? So everything is, I mean, I hit that check mark once we published, but each time we hit these milestones and we get these feedback, and every day I open up LinkedIn and somebody else that I don't know is, I'm reading it on my vacation. I'm like,
yeah. Well, yeah, people you don't know, and then blasts from the past. People that we haven't connected with for a while that reconnect with us around the book. And that just feels great. That just warms amazing. My heart.
So I thought maybe since we just went live, we just got this news this week and we're kind of riding high from it. We'll take a second and acknowledge it today too.
Yeah.
So April's topic. I mean, it's April. So when we were thinking, we're like April Fools and Easter. So it only seems logical that we go with fluffy bunnies and humor. So do you want to share a little bit about what we mean by that?
Well, a lot of the work that we do, which is about helping to create more humane workplaces and, on my side, retrospectives, Tricia's side more in the technical leadership arena. But a lot of the things that we do, the health for teams and so on, some folks consider that to be a little touchy-feely, so on. And I was at a conference a number of years ago, and I was approached by someone who asked me if there was another colleague was present. And I said, no, I think she's already left. And he said, I just really wanted to talk to her. He said, I've been giving her such a bad time about all the fluffy bunny stuff, where he was really kind of a senior engineer, a tech lead before. And he said, I've been giving her so much grief about all this fluffy bunny stuff that you guys do. And he said, and I just got promoted into management. And now I figured out it's fluffy bunnies all the way down. And I thought that was such a great story. And we just laughed. I mean, what can you do? We just laughed. And it was a really joyful moment where, he acknowledged that he was making a connection that he hadn't before, but that he was embracing it. I was really pleased to learn that he had made that, that he could recognize that. And, but it was a fluffy bunny moment. And it was also a fun, joyful, humorous moment.
Yeah.
In the way that he presented that information.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. It's always amazing when you have to eat a little crow.
Yes.
I always, I struggle sometimes with the word fluffy bunnies because I think it is a way to be condescending towards stuff, right? And to be sarcastic with it and stuff. And I've had a lot of people like, oh, Tricia, you're fluffy bunnies, kumbaya. And I am the farthest thing from kumbaya. I am not in that, but I am emotional. I do focus on social intelligence. I do focus on emotional intelligence. And if you want to label that fluffy bunny, fire away. Because it is all about people. It is all about these dynamics. And we put the quote in the book from The Godfather, right? It's business, it's not personal. It's like, no, it is personal. And that comes with emotions. That comes with, you can call it all day long, fluffy bunnies, but that's the reality.
Right.
But there is a distinction for me, because I think when sometimes people say fluffy bunnies, they're just trying to like make everybody happy. And I don't think it's the job of leadership to make people happy. And in fact, I think the more you try to make people happy, you're probably not being the leader.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we can't inject humor and fluffy bunnies into the workspace. Right. We just are doing it kind of with an intention and what we're going for with it.
Right.
So,
and the focus in the book that we've made is around the need for learning, and humans learn through stories and play, and playful, not necessarily everything has to be gamified, but playful spirit helps us learn. And so that's another piece of this puzzle. It's not fluff, if it's supporting learning, it's practical, right?
Yeah. It's what people like, the soft skills versus the hard skills. And you'll hear a lot of people kind of make, soft skills are the hardest ones I've ever had to learn and things like that. But we've got quite a few people on today. We've got Chuck and Angela and Lauren. Tons of people out here today. So it's good month. It's April. It's April. I wore a color today, trying to like will summer weather. Like that's that was my goal. anything at this point.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about injecting play and humor and just emotion, right? And things into the workplace as leaders. Like, what's like, if I stop to try and think of like, what are moments I've done that with, right? Mm-hmm. What are moments you've done that with? Or can we think of stuff with it? Like I said, we're not scripted, so we think about this stuff as we go.
Right. Well, there's something that occurs to me here is, we also have to pay attention to when humor is appropriate. I mean, like April Fool's Day, right? When humor is appropriate and when it's not. I mean, I know there are a lot of folks that, like, in a meeting, when the team really starts hunkering down and really getting into a good discussion, and maybe there's a little bit of tension around it, there are often team members who will make a joke to sort of break the tension. But a lot of times we needed to stay with that tension. We didn't need the joke. I know I used to be one who would do that.
I'm guilty.
Yeah,
I'm guilty.
Give a joke to break the tension, but there's a real skill. There's a leadership, a facilitation skill around knowing when things are getting a little too tense and they may be tipping over into things that are going to be hurtful. And when we're just really focused and really need to work through the differences in the way we think about this thing and that sort of thing. And so I think there's definitely a place for humor in the workplace, and there is a place for not humor, for staying serious in the workplace. And there's always that balance, no matter what we talk about, there's always that balance, which is, we don't want to be that deadly serious all the time, because nobody will ever learn anything and we'll all be scared. But also when do we want to step away from that?
Yeah, I use your story made me think of a couple of things of like how much I interject humor, right? At probably times I shouldn't and stuff, because and it backfires on me sometimes as a leader. I made the joke when I became an executive. there was actually another Tricia in the organization, which never happens, but there was. And there were two other people that had the same name too, that were in new roles and whatnot. And so I made the joke that I was like, I will not take kindly to big Tricia, little Tricia. Like, I will not respond. And then that became, and I made it as a joke, right? Like, it was supposed to be, it was in my mind, it was a way to like downplay the power and things like that. And then that actually ended up, because I had such an amazing teams and stuff, they actually made that kind of into a joke, and it became Big T, like, and we played pranks on each other with it and stuff. And it was a lot of fun with those things. But like, what I didn't think about in that moment was, you know, I was making this joke. I didn't incorporate the other Tricia into it, and where that went, I just made it right on the fly with those things. And so I do think, like, as much as I embrace humor, I have to be cognizant of that humor and the impact of the humor and what it can have and stuff. And I think it was fine in those moments, but definitely something that I've had to work on over the years.
I could certainly imagine somebody who would be a little bit triggered by be calling little or little T.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that could have been the family stuff. You just never know what you're going to wade into.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, that's another instance where intent over impact. Right. And you just, when you're using humor at work, I think you have to be prepared for, it's possible to make missteps.
Mm-hmm.
And the appropriate response is, I'm sorry. I didn't think that through for you. Please forgive me for that thing I said that was uncomfortable for you, or whatever it was. Yeah.
But I am a big fan of the prank, kind of like the innocent fun prank kind of dynamic, and just some of the ones that people have done over the years. Like, I think it does incorporate kind of a permission to be yourself a little bit, right? A permission to relax a little bit, a permission to connect. And we talk so much about, you know, connection and the importance of that. And play and humor can have a dynamic of that. It can go off the rails, but it can have a dynamic where, you know, you look back on things fondly, like even being called Big T. I won't tell him that.
Yeah.
And if you're watching, don't you enjoy that moment, right? But like, in a lot of ways, it was a great connector. It was easy laugh. It was enjoyable in a lot of dynamics, to the point that I still have in my office a big T that's sitting up on the thing that they gave me as a going away, right?
Oh, nice.
And so it was just, I think humor can be this wonderful way to kind of, you know, laughter releases, right? And laughter has a bonding dynamic with it. And so I try, I don't even know if I could stop trying to laugh, even if I wanted to. Like, that's my big thing, is like, I just want to laugh at least once a day, right?
Yeah. The humor in the workplace thing, I mean, I think that's, you know, like, if I'm facilitating a group and I'm new to the group, I don't, you know, they've been working together, I haven't been there, I will often ask them for a sort of a ground rule of no jokes, because I don't know which jokes are pointed and which ones aren't, and so I can't facilitate around that. On the other hand, I always follow that up with, but let's have fun. You know, we can have a lot of fun here. We can laugh a lot without making jokes at each other's expense, right? And so that's that's just a way of making sure that you're setting a container where that lightness, people learn better if they're feeling, you know, if they're not this, you know, oh, I'm hunkered down, I'm not having any fun here. That's not a learning stance. The learning stance is up here, eyes wide open, what's going on out there, and looking for the unexpected. I mean, humor is often built on an unexpected, you know, punchline, or right? It is about that, being open and aware and ready for the unexpected, and then being able to meet it with resilience. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we've talked a lot about the humor side. I want to go to kind of the fluffy bunny side for a
Yeah.
second. And it's interesting. I've cried at work. I'll cry again at work. I
Mhm.
as a leader, as a team member, and it's always interesting the reaction to that, right? Like there's,
Mhm.
oh, you can't be vulnerable. You can't be. And for me, it's just authentic. I couldn't stop it even if I tried.
Yeah.
And sometimes those tears out of anger, sometimes those tears are out of sadness, sometimes those tears are out of different emotions. I pride. I have teared up watching in the back of the room other people and just like pride and for what's happening and appreciation for the moment, and it will cause me to tear up. I am that person, right? So as much as I want to laugh, I'm also this very like emotive.
Yeah.
Is that the word? I don't know. Is that
Yeah.
even a word?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my, I'll just let the few of you that are here in on a little secret about me. I'm not really a crier. I don't know. I just have never, I know a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends who are criers. I know what that's like. I'm not one. What makes me cry, there is something that makes me cry. And that is, I was surprised by the fact that I would cry at training videos about people creating really wonderful workplaces. I cry at Ted Lasso. I cry at, and I cannot watch The Office in any way, shape, or form. But when I see people working together, that's what makes me cry. And it's tears of joy. It's tears of, oh, they've got this great place. And that's one of the places my fluffy bunny really comes out is how that any depictions of really true collaboration and people working together. I know I'm weird in that. I don't expect anybody else to have that.
No, I said I'd stand in the back of the room with pride and and happiness for people, right?
Yeah.
Well, I love that.
Absolutely.
I got told a lot at the beginning because I'm so with my emotions, right? That it wasn't professional or things like I got a lot of feedback on it early on in my career. And I just couldn't stop it really anyways. So it just was still there for me. I mean, I think I tried to shield it as much as I could at times, but I ended up finding out later though, the more that I became a leader, the more that it actually, I mean, yes, it can make some people uncomfortable because they're like, why is she crying, or in savior mode and different things as a female. But a lot of times it was basically like an increase to trust, like is what I ended up hearing, is like that I was willing to be vulnerable, that I was willing to be authentic, that I was willing to not put on a facade as the leader and just to be present and be engaged with people and that I wasn't looking for them to comfort me or to fix it or any of those things, but it was just being authentically true, which drove a deeper connection, a deeper trust with people. And I'll take that. Like I think I mean, there's always a time and a place, and just like with humor, and there are moments that it might not be appropriate, right? Or you're centering the conversation on you or something along those lines. But I have found that the more that I'm willing to be truly authentic with whatever emotion or whatever feelings are there, that it makes people believe what I'm saying, right? Like it increases that trust of, because it's in alignment with what I'm saying, right? Like I can't have these like tears of happiness and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Like people know I'm not just faking when I'm doing this, like that it's truly like heart and soul there with that.
Yeah. So we've got an interesting comment underlining what you just said from Angela, who gave us a cue about how to pronounce her name. Thank you for that. The similar kind of thing about, reacting to the highs and lows on your team and showing them that you notice right? And that can sometimes make your emotions overflow, but it's okay. It's okay. And I want to give a shout out to Veronica from Florianopolis. I just saw that she joined.
Brazil joining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just met her at the
Oh,
retrospective facilitators gathering a couple weeks ago, and we
in
really,
Europe though, right?
pardon,
In Europe, isn't
in
it?
Europe, in
Yeah.
Prague.
So you both
Yes,
were traveling all over the place.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Perfect. Well,
We
and I
both
think
had to
it's
go
also
to
about
Prague to
meeting.
connect with each other. Yes, yeah,
It's also, I like that. I want to piggyback on that a
yeah,
little bit more because I think it's also meeting people where they're at
yeah.
and respecting them as humans.
Right.
And you know, I said earlier, like it's not a job for a leader to make people happy. That said, if my team was walking around happy 24/7, I'm scared. Like something's not like
Yeah.
that's like having no conflict. Oh, we're
Right.
just all gonna pretend
Yeah.
and I it doesn't feel real to me. It doesn't
Right.
feel honest.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So be meeting people where they're at in addition
Yeah.
to that and honoring that.
Yeah. You know, the other thing I flash on with emotions is babies. Like babies have no filters. They're having the emotions they're having, and there's no, no getting around it. And I always get a little bit of a giggle. I know my reaction is opposite of what some folks are when when I'm in an airport or on the airplane or something, and there's a toddler or a baby just having a meltdown, right? And everybody's like edging away, and oh my gosh, why can't we shut that kid up? And I'm just like, oh, I wish I could be that clear about my emotions. If more people would just sit in the gate area and cry and scream and say, this is not going the way I need it to go, would the airlines change how they do things? I don't know. I don't know. But I always kind of celebrate that little being's ability to be who they are and have the feelings they're having in the moment without filter.
That's
I
way
always
more
think that's
honorable than
kind of
mine. Oh, I'm
cool.
so glad my kids aren't little anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't want to be the parent for sure, because I know the parent's in a terrible situation right there. But
I'm always like, oh,
yeah,
I'm so glad my kids aren't little anymore.
yeah,
Is always the
yeah,
reaction I have in those moments. But I
yeah.
love it. Well, yeah, and just to be able to trust the people to express it, to
Right.
say it,
Yeah.
right? And there's moments where I have to be careful. Like when I was up on the stage at Agile 2017 and this computer broke, right? Or it froze, and I'm still using the clicker and I'm trying to play it off. And I'm like, and I was in that moment when I realized what was really happening, but I had been clicking that button like there was they had a dual system. So the actual other one that wasn't being shown was at the end of the slide deck. So when they switched over to the other one, it was the end of the slide deck. So there was nothing I could do. And so in that moment, I was so proud of myself because my little infant response wanted to scream inappropriate words up on that stage at Agile 2017. But all I did was like, I have failed, right? But I was so proud of myself because I could still own my emotion in that moment of like, I have failed, and did a failure bow, and not take it to a spot where I swore or did something, which I am a sailor off camera, right? Like, and out of work. And so there is this, like, you can still be true to your emotion. You can still be true to your humor and be appropriate. Right. And I won't lie, it has slipped out. There have been other moments, right, where I haven't been in that mode where I've been able to do it. But it's not a license to say or do whatever you want by any means. And you can still be that authentic self in an appropriate way. Right. And so that was probably one of my proudest moments, not in that I failed in that in that dynamic, but being able to own the emotion, own the situation on that stage, do it in a humor way. Right. But and not throw up, because I almost felt like it.
Oh yeah, that would have been a tough one. That would have been a hard situation. Did the audience applaud?
Oh, they
think
went crazy. And I will say, because I did not show anything was going down while it was happening, because I'm really good at that presentation karaoke of like improvising and saying, and I was fine. And I'm not nervous speaking in front of people. So even though it was 2,500 people, I was fine with that. But when I realized when they popped the screen back up and the frozen slide went away and the screen was now at the end, there was absolutely nothing I could do. And I could feel the sweat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so no, and I will still say that was 2017. It is, I don't know how I feel about this. It is probably one of the biggest things people still talk to me about all these years later, which I don't know if I like that, given that I was the conference chair and I want you to talk about Audacious Salon or other things of the conference, but that it resonated with people again, because I took a bad situation, humor, was authentic in my feelings in that moment of like, I have failed this clicker, like, and just owned it, but did it in a way that allowed people to kind of laugh, relax, not judge, right? Not blame or shame, and move on. Like, and so it was definitely a moment that will stay with me, like, in that front. But I think it plays off of what we're talking about, where I could be authentic with my feelings in that moment, but I did it with just enough humor. And that is not my technique, the failure bar. I don't actually, do you know whose technique that is?
It comes from improv. Okay. And it comes from, it comes from improv. The failure bow comes from improv. Okay. There's another similar thing, the how fascinating, which is not a bow, but this. Yeah. But they're both acknowledgement of mistakes, right?
So people sometimes trying to attribute me to that. And I was like, no, it's not mine. It's just, I did it in that moment.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me think of like April Fool's jokes and things like that. And pranks. It's like, if you're the target of the prank, right? In that moment, it feels like, oh, I got it wrong. Oh, I should have seen this coming. Oh, and it's how you handle it. I mean, it's like April Fool's Day gives you an opportunity to handle any number of those things, depending on what your friendship circle's like. To be able to say, oops, I got it wrong. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Let's figure out the next thing to do. And that's really a lot of the message of our book. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. We do fit with April Fools.
Full circle. Yeah. So we're at time already.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Is that crazy? So we have scheduled our next one. It's going to be May 12th. And timing will be a little bit later than this one. But we're going to do May 12th is going to be our next Lead Without Blame Live. You can get our book on Amazon, Barrett Kohler, number of different sites out there. Do you have any public trainings or anything coming up? Or are you going to be at any conferences coming up?
I do. Well, I'm going to attend. I'm an advisory board member for the Organization Design Forum. So I'm going to attend their conference the first week of May. And then the second week of May, we will both be at the Global Scrum Gathering here in my hometown, Portland, Oregon. And the day after that, Wolf Gideon Bleak and I are holding an Agile Fluency game workshop that I hope people maybe that are coming to Portland for the Global Scrum Gathering can take the opportunity to stay an extra day and take home an Agile Fluency game for their teams.
Where can they sign up for that one?
They can just contact us at onward@dianalarsen.com and we'll send them all the information.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have an advanced CSM, which honestly, I'm contemplating changing it away from that certification because it's really a class about learning facilitation to help make teams make decisions collaboratively together, right? And so I think a lot of people get stuck on, is it Scrum? And I'm like, no, it's really about helping teams make collaborative decisions together, regardless of what
Yeah.
environment you're in. I actually have 3 spots left in that one, coming up in a couple weeks. And so and I'm also still two of those spots are for any kind of hardship. So if anybody's having laid off or struggling with things, I'm trying my best that I can do to pay for it and help people. So contact me and I'll try and do. I've got a couple spots left in the advanced CSM / really facilitation course. And then our next leading amazing teams course that I do with Jake Calabrese is in May with that.
Yeah.
And I only do a couple publics a year. You don't do much public either.
I do very little public workshops. Yeah, very few. But we thought, with the Global Scrum Gathering right here in Portland, we've got a great venue that I just love to hold the workshop in. That I could show off my local hometown. And so
nice. I love it. I'm excited to come up. That does remind me, I'm also going to be at TechWell in Vegas in June. Right. And so I'm going to be doing a couple tutorials and a session there. And they're actually they did the next 10 registers for TechWell got our book and stuff. So it was actually kind of really cool to be supported by that community as well.
Well, and it's interesting. We're both going to be at the Global Scrum Gathering in May at the same time. And then in June, at the same time, you're going to be at TechWell, and I'm going to be at the XP 2023 conference.
Well, it is conference season. It is conference season.
Yes, and it's conference season.
But if you see us, please come up, talk to us. Please tell us how you're doing and things. We love that. That's pretty much the reason both of us love going is we just love the connection with people and talking. And so we please come up to either one of us.
Yes, for sure.
And that's it. We're at time. We wish everybody a wonderful April.